Well, for more on this, we cross to SABC News reporter Bulelani Phillip, who is standing by for us at Parliament. Thanks very much for joining us, Bulelani. So what can we expect later on today?
Good afternoon to you, Nompu, and to the viewers at home. Of course, I'm coming to you just outside this mega structure that is the temporary home of Parliament. 10 hours of debates over the past 2 days, and today the President is going to be taking the podium to respond to some of the concerns that have been raised by the members of the opposition, but also to respond to some of the reservations that have been put forward by some of the members of the government of national unity. Perhaps maybe to reflect on some of the key themes that have come out of the day two of the debate is that, there is still concern among some of the parties on both sides, both from the GNU members as well as the opposition benches, in terms of how should South Africa respond to some of the threats by the USA, and also looking at how South Africa will be impacted if the United States does implement sanctions against South Africa, as well as stops the AGOA benefits for some of our businesses at home. And of course, the mixed bag here is that while some of the parties are mindful of the impact that this will have on the economy as well as the jobs that are the benefits that we receive, there is also the steadfast plan or the instruction that the president must stick to his promise not to be bullied by the U.S. President Donald Trump, as well as to ensure that the laws that are passed here in South Africa, namely the Expropriation Act, which has been actually the one thing that has triggered this debate, is that that law is actually upheld and is actually implemented as instructed by Parliament. The second issue, again, Nompu, that has come out quite strongly here in these debates is South Africa's response to the killing of those 14 soldiers in the DRC. As we anticipate their return today, there's actually been quite a consensus that the South African government needs to actually ensure that the soldiers that are deployed in some parts of the continent, they are adequately resourced. And some parties, of course, are believing that any withdrawal of the South African troops would actually amount to surrendering, while of course, on the other hand, some parties believe that those soldiers should be immediately withdrawn. The third theme, again, Nompu, that we've seen coming out of this State of the Nation Address debate is the sense of how is the government of national unity is holding up. As you've said in the intro, we've seen that while the members of the government of national unity have welcomed the SONA by the president, they've actually made some reservations around some of the key issues, namely also the Expropriation Act, as well as the National Health Insurance. And those are the issues that have actually put forward that the government needs to relook their strategy or position on that, because they believe that they will impact on the lives of ordinary South Africans. Again, as I've said, the National Health Insurance System, there's still concern about the feasibility of that scheme, also as well as how medical aid schemes that are private will or will not benefit out of the NHI. Of course, the issue of funding the NHI is something that is a concern to some of the political parties. But of course, the health minister, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, is saying that this scheme is going to be implemented incrementally as and when the funds are available. But also, he's shot down the calls that there must be just a primary focus in terms of improving the current health system. Of course, in the bigger scheme of things, we've seen that the opposition bloc has actually, dubbed this State of the Nation address by the president as something of failed promises that will not be implemented, recycled wine that is in a different bottle. But from the main opposition party, the Umkhonto weSizwe party, saying that the president just delivered a State of the Nation address that symbolizes a failed state. And lastly, I think the one thing that has been a consensus coming out of this SONA is that any promises that are made here by the president, they can only be meaningful if the finance minister, Enoch Godongwana, actually puts budget allocations to the promises that have been made here. If he doesn't, then all the promises that have been made in SONA will be actually amount to nothing. Nompu, it's back to you.